In a world filled with uncertainty, we are all trying to get physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy. But the struggle is real. The LiveWell Podcast exists to give you fun, relevant, and impactful strategies that will help you get healthy, stay healthy, and live well. Hosted by Dr. Mike Roncesvalles, a clinical psychologist with 2 decades of experience in the field, and his LiveWell crew. We promise the time you spend listening to the LiveWell Podcast will help you thrive like you never have before.
And welcome to the LiveWell Podcast. We're glad you're listening today. I'm Dr. Mike Roncesvalles. We've got an incredible program for you, information that's really going to follow up on one of our last podcasts about pain and pain management, just how you deal with chronic pain. So we're excited to give you some practical things. Dr. Trevor's in the house.
Oh, man, I'm here. Excited to be here.
Megan Torkowski.
Hello.
And Alana the Great.
Hello. Happy Monday.
That's right.
Happy
and on mic, but
Monday.
off camera.
We've got
Producer Jacob.
How's it going?
Jacob.
All right, guys. So,
Yeah.
Trevor, do you want to start us off with just some housekeeping issues?
I would love to. So this week kicks off Teacher Appreciation Week. So, it's a big deal. So, in fact, I'm married to a teacher. My wife, Mindy's a kindergarten teacher. And they do an incredible amount of work. And so thank you for all of you teachers out there who are listening, who are supporting our children, who are caring for our families. Thank you for all you do.
Yes.
This is also National Mental Health Awareness Month, so it's a big deal for us here at LiveWell Behavioral Health. In fact, we are posting something every day in the month of May. So we've already, a couple days in, we've already made a couple posts, have lots to go. Would love for you guys to find us on our social media. That would be on Facebook and on Instagram to check out our posts. And then lastly, we are doing our first ever live event coming up on Thursday night. May 20th. It's our plan to do one every month. And again, we're kicking it off. So that episode of the live event is going to be overcoming anxiety and understanding mindfulness. I didn't write that one down. It slipped my mind. Apparently I need some mindfulness. That's right. So again, it's overcoming anxiety. Thank you, team.
You're welcome.
And
We got
understanding mindfulness. That's the theme for our first live event. Yes, Thursday night. Thursday.
The 20th.
The 20th.
And the cool part for me about that is I think everybody's stressed out and anxious right now, number one. And number two, I hear all the time about mindfulness. It doesn't matter whether you're on yahoo.com or YouTube or NBC, AB. Everybody's talking about mindfulness. We want to give you guys practical strategies of what that actually means, because no one knows what it means.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people, I was even hearing some people talking about it today on another, on a TED Talks, and this lady was like, if someone tells me to meditate or do a mindfulness practice one more time, I'm just going to throw up on them. She's like, it gives me anxiety. And she was going on and on and on and on. And I was like, whoa, you do need some mindfulness, girl.
It's not a bad idea.
But she needs to be introduced to it and not having it shoved down her throat and understand it. So.
You know, my wife, I mentioned she's a teacher, so they're teaching this now in the schools to the
I know,
kids,
that makes
and
me
so which
so
is
happy.
awesome, right? But we have all these kids learning it, and their parents knowing nothing about it.
Right. So we need to
Yeah.
have a parenting skills, mindfulness. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
We can do that too. We'll follow up with the parenting mindfulness. So anyways, that's some of the stuff that's coming up for you. We're just super excited to be giving you all this content. If you want more information about who we are, go to LiveWellBehavioralHealth.com and you can find out about everything we're doing. All right, let's jump into it. Alana, do you want to give us a recap of that last podcast, just so we know where we're picking up here?
Yes. So 2 weeks ago on April 19th, we recorded and posted a podcast that was, a little personal, but we talked about pain management. And we talked about our combined lived experiences and Trevor's bionic knees and me, Dr. Mike, and Megan overcoming our spinal issues,
discomforts,
and then some. That's totally summarizing it. But anyway, we talked about pain management, and sort of the the cognitive approaches that we have to pain. We talked 2 weeks ago about, we skipped last week. We took a week off to regroup and recenter around some of the other projects we've had going on, just to be able to be what we want to be for you guys. So thank you for bearing with us. Last time we talked about the notion that pain is inevitable, whether that be physical pain or emotional distress. Pain is inevitable in the human condition. However, suffering is optional. We talked a little bit about the science behind that, and we talked about how there is something we can do about rewiring the cognition that we have behind not turning the pain into suffering. We talked about how this sort of automatic notion to resist pain is actually what generates the suffering, whereas taking a more mindful approach to the pain and accepting the pain is one of the things that helps us acquire what we need to start overcoming the pain and living our life through the pain. And essentially today we wanted a part 2 for you guys to talk about real practical tips and strategies that are all evidence-based stuff. It's holistic. It takes a look at the entire body, the entire human. And we wanted to give you guys part 2 on that today. So that's what we have in store for you guys.
Yeah.
Our goal is always to be as practical as we possibly can, and that's hard for us. You guys need to know that, because it's easy to get real heady when you talk about mental health. But we want today to literally get down into the nitty gritty of what you do if you're experiencing some pain issues and you want to learn how to manage them more effectively. So I'm going to just start us off with one thing that is near and dear to my heart. You guys are not going to be surprised by this, but
Is it a story?
It's not a story. Okay. I can tell a story. I've got about 12 that are relevant.
That's right.
That's what I thought you were going for. Go ahead.
I'm a big cognitive behavioral therapist,
Absolutely.
right? That's just sort of my DNA clinically. And there's this enormous link between negative toxic thoughts and the exacerbation of pain. And people struggle with that, especially in the clinical office. When they come in with pain management issues, I'll start to talk about cognitive behavioral therapy as an anecdote for some of the chronic pain. And man, they just start to get nervous because they feel like I'm going to tell them that they've got to think happy thoughts, because that's what some people misunderstand CBT. They don't understand cognitive behavioral therapy. They think it basically just means if I think happy, then I'll feel happy. And that's really not what CBT is all about. The idea behind CBT with pain management would be to understand that literally the script that you read from when you're in pain is either going to help you feel more peace or it's going to help you feel more pain.
Right. You want to go away from the latter.
Correct. The script that you read from when you're in pain is either going to create peace or it's going to create more pain.
Do you want to talk about that script, where that comes from?
So the script that will create more pain is the script that says, I can't believe I'm dealing with this again. This is unbelievable. I can't stand this. This isn't fair. I don't like this.
Why me?
Why me? It shouldn't be me.
Or maybe I deserve this.
Which is a big piece of the puzzle. A lot of you listening are you're shame-based, right? So the way you approach life is through the lens of your own shame. So when you start to experience pain, you put that through the lens of your shame, and you say, well, of course I feel this way because I deserve it. I've done this, or I've done this, or why did I lift that? I've done that to myself before. I'm so stupid. Why would I do that? I know I can't do that. And we link what we're going through right now to all these poor choices. That script will yield more pain. It's research. It's not just me making it up. It's not just me trying to give you some weird, Pollyanna anecdote. This is research-based. That kind of toxic thought will make your body more tense. As your body gets more tense, you will experience more pain.
Right.
So the cognitive behavioral strategy that leads to more peace is going to be the one that says, I can live right here, right now. I can manage my pain. I'm going to get through this. There are some things I can do to feel better, and I have control over some things, not everything. I have control over some things that are going to help me feel better in 15 minutes or 15 hours or 15 days. Does that connect?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, Alana, you just a little bit ago said that pain is inevitable,
Right.
right? But suffering
It's optional.
is optional, right? And this is there's a connection here, the suffering side of this shame-based or this desire to lean into those negative thoughts.
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing you can do, number one, if you want to deal with your pain is number one, get your script in a healthy spot. Get your brain.
Rewrite it.
Rewrite the script and make sure that you're looking for ways that you can emphasize the idea that you have some power. There's something you can do to feel better.
Write about it. Journal it. Like, take notes of what's going on in your head. Put it on paper so you can see it in front of you and know the difference between whether or not that's a healthy thought or that's going to lead me in the wrong direction thought.
Perfect.
Tell you, I'll take 30 seconds and just share that I've personally done that, and very recently, like maybe in the last year or so, struggling with a variety of just chronic debilitating pain conditions, but I had to rewrite the script that, the narrative that essentially I was telling myself was that this pain is inevitable. This pain is permanent. This is just what you're going to have to deal with forever. And I still am rewriting some of those things, but just that by itself, I think has made a huge impact on my willingness and my motivation and my energy to get up and keep moving.
What did you rewrite it to, Alana?
I rewrote it to, I knew you were going to ask me that, Dr. Mike. So I rewrote it to, I am not my pain. My pain is separate from Alana the Great. And calling myself Alana the Great, there's a whole science behind that. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. 99% of the time I don't believe it, but that's how I rewrite my script. Because if I said Alana is pain instead of saying Alana the Great.
And I'm going to be in pain forever. Think about how huge that statement is.
Yeah.
And how that is just a heavy statement to think and feel and own. I am going to be in
That
pain
we wrap
forever.
our identity around
That's
it.
a lot. So the fact that you change that is wonderful.
I'm changing it, and
you're still practicing.
Still practicing, and what that leads me to believe is, okay, this pain is actually temporary. Don't resist it, but instead, lean into it, be mindful about it, figure out where it's coming from, do whatever I can to treat and overcome it, and still do the things that I want to do to find joy and purpose in my life, so that I don't curl up into fetal position in the corner there and just stay there until tomorrow.
And then you get to share all of those things that you're doing with other people and help other people along the way.
And so I just want to point out that we understand that there are some people that are in chronic pain that you might have some just reality to the idea that you're probably going to be in pain for a long, long, long time.
Sure.
But even so, your goal is in the battleground of your mind to look for ways to exercise some control over the process. What can I do today to live in a moment and enjoy a moment and find something beautiful? The whole concept of beauty out of the ashes, I bring up a lot. That's your goal in regard to this cognitive behavioral strategies for pain management. So, all right, we've got CBT. What else? What could you guys throw out there as a practical strategy to help people with pain management?
I think Alana wants to say something. No? Okay. Should we move on to my stuff?
Go ahead.
Jump in. Yeah.
Well, I was actually I was looking at this. I'm thinking more support group right now, maybe. Do you want to talk about that, Trevor, a little bit?
Sure.
Like community?
Would love to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because then I'll go into that.
Right. So when we're in pain, our tendency is to isolate, right? We don't feel good. We want to get away. We want to be alone. And oftentimes, well, in fact, always, we need to push against that, right? There's something powerful about community, about relationships. There's a ton of research done on this. You can look it up. You can find it. In fact, that's why even in the medical field, we talk about support systems, right? If you go to the doctor, they're going to ask you, again, who's your support system? We have that same thing in the mental health industry.
Absolutely.
It's key that you have people in your support system to care for you, come alongside you. And I said, that's really difficult sometimes. In fact, I'll just share, you guys know this here. So my dad just had surgery. He's sitting in an ICU ward in Minneapolis, Minnesota right now. Because of COVID, he can't see anyone, and it's so difficult, So we just had the first phone call with him the other day. Aww. And it was amazing, right? Just to be able to hear his voice, and not just for us that it was helpful, but I think for him it was extremely therapeutic, right? To be able to hear on the other side of that phone, his son and his daughter-in-law and his boys, it was amazing, But there's something healing in that effort, right? Of having support around you. So again, as you're in pain, you need to look for those individuals, that community, those family, the friends, again, who can walk you and care for you and support you through this.
Yeah, so there's some really strong research here as well, like the idea that supportive relationships are they're clinically linked to better outcomes with pain. So it's not just anecdotal. It's cool. Right. You start to have an experience like that with your dad, Trevor, and it's like, wow, this is real. Right. But to know that that's not just your anecdotal experience, that over and over and over and over again, the research supports the idea that we've got to have people on this journey with us.
Yeah. And it's hard right now too, because physical touch is so much of that, and we can't, like, hugging is like a taboo thing right now, or like shaking hands, but it's such a part of our culture and just our way of being that, a 20-second hug can give a 5-year-old all the oxytocin to their brain that they need to just bring them out of that sad moment and make them happy again. And we're not being able to do that right now because of the pandemic. So it's just very unfortunate that we're having to be so isolated in these moments of healing when we really need other people.
And if you're listening or watching today and someone that has chronic pain, I think that's a great goal for us to say we can speak life into these people. And some of it's just, the research talks about like caring eyes, like the idea when you see someone that looks like they care about you, that actually starts to calm your brain and your body down.
Smile, even. I know we're all wearing masks now, but when you're not and you just smile at somebody, that could literally change their whole entire day. I have a little tiny brief story. I was having a really bad day doing homework in a bookstore in LA, 8-10 years ago. And I had my head down and I got a really rough phone call, and I was just like beside myself, but in a public place, but not really envisioning or noticing anybody else around me. And I looked up, and this person who was sitting like 3 tables down from me had a yellow notepad just like this, and he had it flipped over with a smiley face on it so that I could see it. And it made me smile, and he came over and sat with me and said, like, "Hey, are you okay? I noticed you were like having a moment there, and I just wanted to say you're not alone." And we became friends after that. Like, he was a ghostwriter and going to school there, and we just became friends after that. But he noticed a complete stranger having like a bit of a hard time, and he just went out of his way to make me smile and feel better.
That's awesome.
And it absolutely worked.
That's pretty creative.
Right?
Little smiley
just
face.
a little smiley face on a yellow notepad.
Yeah, you're talking about some of the clinical stuff. So I've worked 2 years as a hospital chaplain, and they train hospital staff to have bedside manner, right? And there's science attached to that, right? The difference that it makes. So the smile, the touch, the engagement that you would have with somebody who's there to heal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Megan, do you want to jump into like the yoga, acupuncture movement stuff, or?
Yeah, I will. Because yoga is another form of community. Like, and a lot of people look at yoga and they think about the pictures that they see with people doing these wild back bends, and their knees are touching their noses.
Kind of like when I do yoga.
When you do yoga,
like the pictures on
he's got his foot all the way up over his head.
It's
and he's
pretty
doing
impressive.
a beautiful dancer pose. It looks super great.
We'll be posting these, right, Jacob?
I mean, yeah.
I'll help him out. But he'll get there. Some point. He'll get there. No, but coming from someone who suffers from chronic cervical pain and just issue with my spine, yoga. I just looked down and okay. Yoga helped me come out of that. Like, being told that I couldn't run
Right.
when I was 27 years old, I was like, what? I've been running since I was like 10, and that's all I do. That's like, I thought of running as a part of who I was. Like, it was me. Like, I associated that I was a runner. And to be told that I couldn't do it, I was just like, I have no idea what the heck I'm going to do, because that's who I am. I had to find this new thing called yoga where you had to sit with your feelings. I was like,
Ew.
no, I don't know how to be mindful. I was like, I only do yoga to stretch. Well, lo and behold, I had it helped me so much. It helped me learn so much about my body and what was going on in there, and really just how to get in tune with myself and know that the pain was at a specific spot in my body and it wasn't a whole part of my being. Like, there are layers of areas in my body and in my mind that were struggling, that were in pain, that were uncomfortable, but I could do things to alleviate that. And so I even ended up getting my yoga teaching certificate because it was that powerful for me to go and find something where you can't think about anything else when you're doing yoga, because you're focused on your breath, you're focused on the alignment, you're focused on just kind of leading with your heart and connecting it all together, your heart, your mind, your body, your soul, all the things. And it was just so empowering and grounding for me.
And so it's interesting to me to hear you talk, because as we've said many times, this is not my comfort zone, right? Like, I like the cognitive, this, but I'm really starting to come around to the idea that this is valid stuff, right?
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, seriously.
I know. How many times have I told you to do a
time.
forward fold? Because your lower back.
So here's my question to you. When you're in pain, how do you do yoga? Like, what?
So that's hard.
Yeah.
Because last year,
Right.
I had pneumonia. I had a neck flare up. I was not able to get out of bed for 3 weeks.
COVID.
I had to work from home for 6 months. I got COVID. I fell out of a hammock. I messed up my SI. I just got that fixed. My lovely chiropractors.
When you say it all together, I got to say.
Like, it's just, there were so many things last year
Yeah.
that my physical body, I couldn't even practice yoga. Like, I was lucky if I could sit on my mat and do a couple of forward folds or a butterfly posture, or restorative for that matter, because leaning back just was so painful. So it's hard. But the cool thing about yoga is you make it what you need it to be. You have a threshold that you get to embrace. So if going this far into a lunge is going to be super painful, then you back off some.
Right.
You go to where you are comfortable, and you surround yourself with people who are not going to let you exceed those limits, because they don't want to see you injure yourself.
So if you're listening, watching today, we want to encourage you. Yoga's awesome, but you probably, if you're in serious pain, you probably need to get with someone who knows what they're doing, right?
Professional.
Don't go on the internet and just figure this out. No. Go to someone who knows what they're doing that can lead you through the process. Here at LiveWell, we have a resident yoga expert who happens to be sitting on my left. And we literally do it here in a behavioral health setting. And so you can come here, meet with Megan. You can do one of our groups, or you can go, we'll be happy to refer to you to someone in your community that can help you walk through the process.
Absolutely.
So guys, this is crazy. We've only got 3 or 4 minutes left. What's left if we want to give people practical strategies?
I mean, there are other alternatives. There's acupuncture, releasing the tension and the energy in the places in the body that hurt, or that are in pain, which I do a lot, and I think that acupuncture is very, very healing for me. There's massages. There's chiropractic care. My chiropractor literally just fixed everything in my body that I've been struggling with for almost 6 months. Body scans, bathing, salt baths.
Yeah.
Soaking. What else?
I'm going to try to talk through this.
So, okay, for those of you that were watching that whole thing go down, I read over here that Alana has the hiccups. And so she wasn't able to talk.
Quietly been sitting by this whole time.
Trying not to hiccup into the microphone. So that
You know
was...
what?
Did I just get rid of them for you?
Can we scare you?
You know what I'm going to do?
Talk about purple unicorns.
Practice mindfulness, and I'm going to not try to resist
the hiccup.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. Movement. Talk about movement. Salt baths.
Okay.
Everybody take a breath.
Oh, please don't make me laugh. So we have a whole list of about 15 different pain management strategies that we wanted to talk with you guys about today, all in a 20-minute crunch time. So some of them includes physical movement, which I want to talk about in a second. We actually have a resident expert on behavioral activation in-house right here at LiveWell Behavioral Health at this beautiful facility.
Dave Jones.
And what behavioral activation does is it's literally the evidence-based technique of getting someone up and moving in any physical way, even if their pain or depression or anxiety tells them not to, or tells them that they can't.
Laying horizontal, it exacerbates it, because without the movement, things are getting constricted and they're getting tight, and they need to be moved and stretched.
We have to remember, like, the parts of the brain that is telling us to stay still and don't move, those are the parts of the brain that is misfiring. It's the pain signals, it's the depression, those are the parts of the brain, it's misfiring. So why would we want to listen to the thing that's telling us what to do when that thing isn't functioning well?
Correct.
Those are the things we need to try to resist, like Dr. Mike was talking about earlier.
A part of it feels natural. A part of it feels like, oh, you're super depressed, like you're definitely going to want to stay in bed all day.
Been there, done that.
But at the same time, me too. And, like, by no means is this easy. It's probably, like, really, really challenging. I can tell you, like, I mean, I wake up in the morning with pain, but if I don't get up and get moving, even if it's just a quarter-mile power walk, if that's all I can handle, barely handle, like, that's movement. And movement, what you're doing is you're proving to your body that those misfiring signals are wrong, and you're kind of telling it to like shut up for a second while you try to do the healthy thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're gonna reset those signals in your brain as you do it.
Exactly.
Now we want you to talk to your doctor, right? If you're in serious pain, always clear any physical activity with your doctor.
Yes.
But the idea is we tell people routinely, do it anxious, do it depressed,
Do it afraid.
do it in pain,
Yeah.
do it afraid, because when you start moving, you will start feeling better.
That's right.
You will.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, you create this practice. You've created a new routine that is a healthy way of living. It's that self-care, that self-love, that I am worthy of feeling better, so I'm going to do this for myself, and I'm going to turn it into a routine.
So my
And I
advice
will
to
get
you
better.
guys is do it anyway. No matter what your brain or body is telling you, do it anyway. Move anyway. Get up anyway. Take a shower anyway. Take a bath anyway. And speaking of baths, so
you need to take
Yes.
I was thinking about-
What is she about to say?
I haven't showered in 3
That's
days.
right.
We've been wanting to talk to you about this, Alana, so I'm glad you brought it up. It's less awkward this
will
way.
have you know I did shower. Okay. Bathing. Okay. Megan, this is on our list, okay?
I know.
Of pain
But you're
management
not talking about like
strategies.
just a bath. You're talking about
I'm
like an
not.
Epsom
Epsom
salt.
salt
That's
Like a
right.
soak.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are actually really wonderful facilities. I mean, we're in Florida here, so we're on the East Coast. And I can tell you, in between Orlando and Melbourne, there are at least 4 sensory deprivation spas. If anyone does not know what that is, it's one of the coolest things that I've ever heard of.
Basically lay in like a pod full of extremely high amounts of salt water, right?
Yes. So
Like high amounts of salt.
So there's this giant tub, and I mean it's about, what is it, like your arm span plus about 6. It's a lot of space, and it's a circular tank, and it's filled with about 6 inches of water, but there's about 500 pounds of Epsom salt in there. And so when you go into the tank, you automatically float, because there's this floating component of it. The tanks are always set at the exact same temperature as your body. So it's 98 degrees and your body temperature is about 98.6 degrees. And so the whole idea of sensory deprivation is now you're floating in 6 inches of water and you're not really feeling any sensation except for hopefully relaxation.
Because you're being supported by the salt.
The salt is supporting you.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
So we know that's a little creative, but it works. I mean, we had a massage therapist that worked for us that would routinely send people to these soaks before she would do the massages. So, all right, look, we have about 1,000 more things we'd like to tell you about, and we just don't have time today. But we appreciate you listening. We tried to give you practical strategies that can help you live better and help you manage your pain. So we do want to remind you, our website's livewellbehavioralhealth.com, livewellbehavioralhealth.com. You'll get all the information you need there about who we are, about our staff. We've got therapists waiting to meet with you in person, virtually. We've got a coaching app that you're connected with a real person through this app, a real coach that will help you create some goals for your life and help you meet those wellness goals. We've got intensive programs for addictions and depression and anxiety and stress and trauma. We just like to tell you about all of that. So please don't hesitate to visit our website and give us any feedback or comments that you have. And we just appreciate you giving us the chance to speak into your life today. All right, guys, I think that's it. Until next time, thanks for listening and watching.
Thanks
the
for
LiveWell
watching.
Podcast.
Thanks for joining us.
Have a mindful Monday.